What's up there, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and today we're going to be talking about Joe Biden being so FDR-like that he is completely given up on basically everything that has to do with the Green New Deal and or fighting climate change. Not that FDR was fighting climate change, but Biden basically has given up on every single campaign promise, and that includes everything that he ever said about how he was going to cut emissions. I think he said he was going to try to cut CO2 emissions in the United States in half by 2030, and he would set us on the road to doing so. None of that shit is happening. He said that he was going to change the USPS vehicle fleet to entirely e-vehicles. But then when he became president, I covered this as one of my first episodes on Political Fight Club, was he gave the government contract to a defense contractor called Oshkosh instead of giving it to the Wisconsin-based Workhorse, which makes all e-vehicles, and Oshkosh only makes biodiesel hybrids. They don't even actually make e-vehicles, so he deliberately gave the contract to a non-e-vehicle company when he had the choice to do so. So he's not only not even trying to go e-vehicles on something that he promised he would do, he's actively going exactly against what he said he was going to do. So I'm going to read to you here from Common Dreams. The reason I bring this up, guys, is a lot of you may have seen, like, the ocean's now on fire because one of those pipelines burst. So, like, the water in the Gulf of Mexico is literally ablaze, and it looks like fucking Deepwater Horizon. And, of course, the West Coast is on fire, and we're seeing more and more adverse weather events, including, I think it was like 110 degrees in Seattle the other day. Shit's going down, and we can see it in front of our eyes, and Joe Biden's doing essentially what Trump would do on this, which is doing nothing. He's dragging his feet ever so slightly less slowly than Trump, but in a sprint, the outcome is still the same. We're going to lose the race against climate change the same way we would under Trump. So I'm going to read to you here from Common Dreams exactly what's going on with Biden's new infrastructure bill. Now, he's trying to run like two bills, one through normal order, which will be like the Republican bill, and they'll agree to it, and it'll be a really, really horrible bill. And then another one he's saying is going to be a little bit more democratic, and he's promising progressives that he's going to do that one through budget reconciliation, which requires no votes from the Republicans. Now, without getting too far into the weeds, let's remember, guys, that he can pass an omnibus bill that doesn't have anything to do with Republicans through budget reconciliation easily if he just overrides the parliamentarian or fires her, Elizabeth McDonough. He does not need to give the Republicans even a chance to vote on anything. You don't need one Republican vote on anything ever. You just have to be willing to fire the parliamentarian and make sure that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema vote correct, which Joe Biden can do if he gave a damn. But I digress. I'm going to read you here from Common Dreams what the originally $3 trillion infrastructure bill, which was supposed to help us fight climate change by moving us towards e-vehicles and getting us off of fossil fuels, what it has been whittled down to. In the reality-based world, the Senate moderates who negotiated a just under $1 trillion infrastructure deal with President Biden, its final passage is anything but assured, made sure to strip out most of the administration's original climate-related provisions. That included a national clean electricity mandate that would have sped up the end of fossil fuel-fired power plants, as well as tax incentives for wind and solar power, and most of the money proposed to spur more use of electric vehicles. Team Biden has assured angry progressives that the dollars will come in a second bill to be passed through budget reconciliation, which would just need the votes of all 50 Democrats plus Kamala Harris to break the tie. Bullshit. They're not going to give progressives anything. If they wanted to do it this way, and if the progressives had any nuts, they would just say, fine, put your money where your mouth is, pass the budget reconciliation bill we want right now that has Ed Markey's Thrive Act in it, and then we'll agree to go along with whatever you want to do afterwards. But you got to give us something first instead of us going along with your stupid normal order plan, voting for it, and then you are like Lucy in Peanuts holding the football for Charlie Brown, and then all the fucking progressives end up going up in the air, landing on their asses again. If they gave a damn, they'd make sure that the first step to the Green New Deal, which is Ed Markey's Thrive Act, would be included in the budget reconciliation bill, and they would go, no, we're going to block everything. We're going to vote with Republicans and stonewall you everywhere you go for the rest of your administration, Joe, unless you pass the Thrive Act with your budget reconciliation bill first. Once that's happened, we're on board for you. And that creates 15 million new jobs over the next decade by investing $1 trillion per year into the first steps of the Green New Deal. And I'm going to read to you exactly what it does. Listen to what Biden's doing, though. Well, good luck with getting it past Manchin and Sinema. At the very same moment that crews out west were battling back the latest wildfires, the environmental group Greenpeace UK was releasing a video of ExxonMobil's top federal lobbyist tricked into thinking he was speaking with a friendly job recruiter on Zoom, spilling the beans on his firm's strategy to thwart major climate change on Capitol Hill that might cut into its massive profits. The most disturbing revelation from the lobbyist Keith McCoy was his close ties to a gaggle of key Senate moderates, including those who presumably stripped the climate provisions from the infrastructure bill, naming 5 key Democrats. In particular, the lobbyist for the world's largest fossil fuel corporation insisted that he speaks with the staff of the most powerful Democrat in Congress, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, every single week. Considering that Manchin, representing a state where coal is still venerated, was already a dubious supporter of major climate action, this is very bad news for planet Earth. But then, there are serious questions about whether Biden, even after a A- or maybe B+ start on climate change by rejoining the Paris Climate Accords for global action and killing the Keystone XL pipeline, is fully rising to the seriousness of the moment. Despite his seeming commitment to phasing out carbon pollution, the Biden administration has flummoxed environmentalists in recent weeks by defending, at least for now, an oil pipeline that would cross indigenous land and fragile wetlands in Minnesota, and a second controversial project in Alaska. Mixed signals and cautious incrementalism are a dangerous message from the White House at such a perilous time, with sharks like ExxonMobil lobbyists circling. And that's exactly the problem, and this is one of those things where I really wish Bernie Sanders were in there, because he would do exactly what I'm talking about and be like, yeah, we're putting the Thrive Act in, we're going through budget reconciliation, Elizabeth McDonough, the parliamentarian, can go fuck herself. I'm going to either fire her or convince her that we're going to put it in there, we're not even going to bother with Republicans. But we voted Biden in, the guy that everybody liked because he could reach across the aisle, and now he's selling the planet down the Republican avenue. And that drives me crazy. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about the Thrive Act just briefly here. Ed Markey and Debbie Dingell introduced this on April 29th, and I covered it, I think, that day. I would recommend you read the whole thing. It's awesome, or go back and watch my video. But basically, this is what I would be saying at this time when all these horrible environmental disasters are going on in our country. The AOCs of the world need to step up and go, listen, with all the stuff that's going on that we can see that is in the news right now, like, you know, the Gulf of Mexico on fire and wildfires and enormously hot temperatures and droughts places and hurricanes and stuff like that, let's pass the Thrive Act in this infrastructure deal and create the jobs. It creates 15 million new jobs. So it's like, it's a no-brainer. You can get the economy back working. Let's start on the Green New Deal right now, but you don't hear them doing it. But let's read to you from exactly what it does. This is according to Debbie Dingell's office. It upgrades our infrastructure for clean water, affordable public transit, and a reliable electric grid. Since we're going to be creating and needing so much more electricity here in the future, this part of the Green New Deal does double the size of our electric grid. And it also, of course, incentivizes wind, solar, tidal, renewable energy, which is excellent. Expand access to wind and solar power, electric vehicles, and healthy buildings. So it also it creates 4 million jobs, like renovating and retrofitting old buildings with better insulation so that they don't lose heat so easily, so you don't have to use as much electricity. And it creates millions of jobs doing every single one of these things. It created 5 million jobs with just that first thing I told you. Protect our rural and urban spaces, wetlands, prairies, forests, and support family farmers who are embracing regenerative agriculture. That creates 4 million other jobs. Invest in public institutions and care for children and the elderly, essential work that is underpaid and largely performed by women of color. And that creates 2 million new jobs. So, I mean, it's an obvious thing. It's easy to frame. Everybody sees what's going on in the media. If the squad gave a damn, they play hardball and insist that the Thrive Act be included in one of the 2 infrastructure bills, or better yet, insist that don't work with the Republicans at all, Joe. Do an omnibus bill. We'll work with you on that. Do it through budget reconciliation. Ignore the parliamentarian. You'll get all of our votes. You'll make Joe Manchin have to vote party lines if you put public pressure on him. Pass it and be like FDR. That's what he could do, and that's what the squad could pressure him to do, and frame it thusly, and you might get him on board. Frame it like you're going to create a bunch of new jobs just like FDR, and you'll get reelected. You pass this one bill, even the progressives will vote for you. But they're not going to do that. The squad they're cowardly and they're corrupt, and they don't give a fuck about helping poor people or helping the planet meet the goal of beating the point of no return, which is 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels before 2030. That's like 8.5 years from now. It's a sprint. We need to get there quickly, and we got Joe Biden Parkinsonian shuffling his way to the 10-yard line, and that's not even the 2-yard line, and that's all we're going to get, because Donald Trump was going to go and get us to the 1-yard line. God damn, man. I hate that we're stuck with Joe Biden. This is nowhere near enough, and this is exactly what you get for voting for the guy that reaches across the aisle. Anyway, keep fighting the good fight out there. Ed Markey and AOC and company, just have some balls, play hardball, and force the Thrive Act to be at least in the budget reconciliation bill. Get some assurances. Keep fighting the good fight, guys. I'll talk to you later.